Good morning. Today we are going to start a new topic, which is consumption and investment. In our lecture today, we are going to cover consumption, and next lecture we are going to cover investment. Households are going to receive their income after deduction of tax. So this is income minus tax. So we are going to get disposable income. Then households would like to distribute this disposable income between two different uses. Either to spend this money on goods and services, and this is known as consumption expenditure, or to save this money, and this is known as savings. So households would like to keep money, not spending consumption, which is savings, or spend their money on final goods and services, and this is known as consumption expenditure. So disposable income can be calculated as the summation of consumption expenditure and savings. So this means that consumption depends on disposable income or function of disposable income. So consumption function shows that there is a relationship, there is a positive, actually it's a positive one, positive relationship between disposable income and consumption expenditure. So consumption function shows the relationship between the level of consumption expenditure and the level of disposable income. So we can write it as C is a function of or depends on disposable income, or YD. Let's take an example. This is disposable income, net savings, and consumption. If you know that disposable income is 24,000 and consumption is 24,110, so you can calculate savings as the difference between consumption and disposable income, which is negative 110. Negative 110 means that you are going to withdraw money from your savings, from your bank account, or you are going to borrow money in order to spend more than your income. Case number 2. If you know that your disposable income is 25,000 and your consumption is 25,000, so in this case your savings will be 0. If you know that your disposable income is 26,000 and your savings is 150. So you can calculate consumption as the difference between disposable income and savings, and it will be 25,850. If you know that your disposable income is 27,000 and the consumption expenditure is 26,600, so savings will be 400. This means if you are going to add consumption and savings, the value will be the disposable income. Okay, and so on. From this schedule, we can divide the value of consumption and savings into three main parts. Number one, when savings is negative or consumption is greater than disposable income. So this is case number one, and in this case there is this savings or decrease in savings. Withdraw money from your saving account or bank accounts. Case number two, when your income is equivalent to disposable income and there is zero savings, and in this case this is known as the break-even point. Or in other words, there isn't any excess money with you to save. After that, in all points you can find that disposable income is greater than consumption, so we have savings or positive savings. So these are the three main areas: this saving, break-even point, and saving. How we can illustrate this graphically? First of all, in order to be able to draw the graph, we have to draw something known as income line or 45-degree line. The income line or the 45-degree line shows that at all points along the line, level of income is exactly equal to level of consumption. On the x-axis, we are going to draw disposable income, and y-axis consumption. As we said, the first step is to draw the income line or the 45-degree line. This is a 45-degree line. This is known as income line. Along this line, if your income is 100, your consumption will be 100. If your income is 1,000, your consumption level will be 1,000, and so on. So any point along this line shows that consumption is equivalent to income. What about consumption? Consumption should be positive. Actually, in real life, we cannot consume zero values, 0 units. Is a basic need. Yeah, you have to just satisfy your basic needs. So consumption should be positive. Even if you are going to borrow, to withdraw money from somewhere, and so on. And it's positively slowed. As when income increases, you are going to spend more and more in consumption. So this is the consumption function. This is consumption. We can divide it into 3 different areas: area A, area B, and C. In A, it can be witnessed that consumption is greater than income. Consumption is greater than income, or in other words, there is this savings. Just like our example here, consumption is greater than income. Point B, point of intersection of consumption and income line. At these points, consumption equal disposable income, so this is the break-even point. In area number C, income is greater than consumption, so there is savings or positive savings. The slope of the consumption function is known as marginal propensity to consume, or MPC. MPC is the change in consumption due to change in income by 1 unit. So MPC is calculated as a change in consumption expenditure divided by change in disposable income. So if you would like to calculate it in our example, it will be calculated as a change in consumption expenditure, which is 25,000 minus 24,110 divided by change in disposable income, which is 25,000 minus 24,000. So it will be 0.89. This means that if your income is going to increase by £100, you are going to spend £89 in consumption and save the rest of your income. If your income increases by 1,000, you are going to spend £890 and save the rest of your income. Okay. Another one, 25,850 minus 25,000 divided by 26,000 minus 25, 25,000, it will be 0.85. This means if your income increases by 100, you are going to spend 85 pounds in consumption and save the rest of your income, and so on. It will be 0.75, 0.64, 0.59, and finally 0.53. What about savings? As we said that you are going to distribute your money income or your disposable income between savings and consumption. Savings also is a function of disposable income. So saving function shows the relationship between savings and disposable income. Graphically. In the upper panel, we are going to draw the consumption function, and in the lower one, it is the saving function. This is disposable income on the x-axis, and consumption in the upper panel, and saving in the lower panel on the y-axis. In case of consumption, we have to draw the 45-degree line or the income line. And this is consumption. If you are going to return back to our example, it can be noticed that when consumption is greater than disposable income, savings is negative. When consumption is equivalent to disposable income, savings is 0. And finally, when consumption is less than disposable income, savings is positive. So in the first case, as we said, that consumption is greater than income, there is this savings. So this means, this is the origin, we are going to start from a negative value. This is negative value, and this is positive 1. This is negative A, for example. And then the value is increasing till we reach the point of intersection of income and consumption line. At this point, as we said, savings equals 0. So here savings equals 0. And this is negative savings. After these points, income is greater than consumption and savings will be positive. This line is the saving function. Also, the slope of saving function is known as marginal propensity to save. Which is calculated as a change in savings over a change in disposable income. Returning back to our example, it will be 0 minus negative 110 divided by 1,000, which is the difference between 25,000 and 24,000. It's 0.11. The next one is 150 minus 0 divided by 26,000 minus 25,000, it's 0.15, and so on, 0.25, etc. It can be concluded that if you are going to add MBC and MBS, in all cases, the value will be 1. So without any calculation, if you know that marginal propensity to consume is 0.6, This means that marginal propensity to save will be 0.4, as marginal propensity to consume plus marginal propensity to save equal 1. Why do we have to study consumption, or importance of studying consumption? Actually, consumption will affect one of the main objectives of any country, which is economic growth rate. As we said, objective number 1 for any country is to increase output or increase economic growth rate. Output or growth rate is measured by GDP, and GDP is an indicator of aggregate expenditure, or is an interpretation of aggregate expenditure, and is one of the main components of GDP is consumption. So GDP, according to flow of product approach, is measured as C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So when C increases, GDP will increase as well. Objective number 2, or the second main importance, is related to savings. Actually, consumption affects savings, and savings will affect investment decision. If you are going to invest more, so if you are going to save more, this money should be converted to be investments in order to increase the growth rate and the potential output of the country. What are the main determinants of consumption? There are 3 main factors that affect consumption. Number 1, disposable income, and there is a positive relationship between consumption and disposable income, as when disposable income increase, consumption will increase, and vice versa. Number 2, permanent income and life cycle hypothesis. Here we have to differentiate between permanent and temporary income. Actually, the case is related to life cycle hypothesis, as people would like to save in order to smooth their consumption over their lifetime. So if income or increase in income is permanent, then consumption will increase, while if it is a temporary influence, so savings will increase, as people would like to keep money for the future. So the relationship between permanent income and consumption is a positive relationship. Number 3, wealth. People with higher wealth will consume more than people with low or no or little wealth. Actually, factor number 1 will cause a movement along the curve, or in another word, we are going to move from one point to another along the consumption function curve. While with respect to wealth and permanent income, they are going to cause a shift in consumption function curve. If they are going to increase consumption, so the curve will shift to the right and vice versa. This is the end of our lecture today. Thank you and see you next week.